Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to our WebEx session. I am Makay from the channel team, and on today I will moderate our events. The WebEx session's topics is understanding Symantec DCS, Zero Trust from core to cloud. Our special guest and the presenter is Ajit Nair, our dedicated product professional. He will guide you on today. In the next 90 minutes on the presentation level and maybe on the demo level, Ajit will share you the details of the planned topic. The event, as always, recorded, and later we will share the recording link with you. If you have any question, then please use the chat window, but we will answer part of the Q&A session. So we ask your patience. We just collect the questions, and we will do the Q&A session. Ajit, the stage is yours.
Yep. Thanks, Kalman. And hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for your time. My name is Ajit Nair. I'm one of the senior pre-sales engineer for Symantec. I hope my screen is visible, Kalman, and my voice is also audible, clear enough?
Yes, absolutely clear and loud, and we see your share screen. Yes.
All right, very good. Okay. So let's start. Okay. All right, so I've created this agenda today to walk you through our solution, which is Symantec Data Center Security. I'm going to call Data Center Security as DCS in short. I'll walk you through some of the challenges first in the data security space. What is in need for a data security solution such as Symantec DCS? I'll walk you through the solution overview and some of its capabilities across protecting the operating system, including Docker containers, as well as our platform support across a broad range of operating systems. And then lastly, we'll talk about the single agent and the anti-malware support that comes with our solution. And in the end, we can leave some time for the Q&A if the time permits. And I'll quickly show you the console as well, just to let you know how the console looks like, especially with the new version that we have released. So let me start off. So let's discuss some of the challenges that we come across when it comes to hardening a server, right? So first of all, DCS is basically a solution to protect your operating systems, right? Which is protecting your servers, but not just any server. We want to protect your mission critical servers, because there are servers and then there are mission critical servers. Now, hardening those mission critical servers is definitely essential when it comes from the security standpoint. However, it does come with a couple of challenges. One of the challenges would be, having a fine balance between security and performance. Because organizations, as in our experience, we do see that organizations are trying to find a solution that can offer them a fine balance between protection as well as performance, a solution that can help them comply with the latest regulations for, with easy monitoring. At the same time, giving support for those end-of-life systems, end-of-support operating systems. What about those operating systems where vendors are no longer releasing those software patches? What about those servers? And in the end, all this has to be addressed, but ensuring there is stability, reliability, and productivity. So basically having that fine balance between securing your server, but also ensuring that the performance is not impacted. Because if you are trying to be overly strict with a policy, that can really impact the server's performance. And in the end, that results in slowness of a server or servers getting stuck. Another challenge would be patch management, right? Getting that downtime to reboot a system. I mean, I remember in my experience getting approvals, going through levels of approval was extremely tough just for a simple reboot. So organizations cannot afford that downtime to patch the server and then reboot the server because those softwares cannot get installed on the user level. It has to go through the kernel level. And in order for it to be installed on the kernel level, a reboot is extremely important. And then lastly, those configuration complexity, ensuring that all security settings, firewalls, or maybe encryption or access controls are properly configured. So all these challenges is something that organizations are facing with. So why is there a need? Why is there a need for a heightened security for servers? Because make no mistake, there is a fundamental difference between a server, like a server and a client. Unlike clients, for clients, maybe a traditional or a standard endpoint protection can do the job. But servers need special attention because server characteristics are different. Servers are meant and designed to be a single purpose solution. So, and hence they require hardening. You probably have servers across your on-prem, or your servers could stay in the cloud, or maybe it's a virtual server, such as organizations having hybrid environment. Hence, there is a need to secure your server regardless of where it stays. And most importantly, these servers, such as maybe Windows 2003, Windows 2008, they no longer receive those patches, and hence there is a need to protect those operating systems from malware attacks. And at the same time, your servers must be up and running. So why now? Because as you can see on the screen, breaches with over 10 million records are up by 125%. So there are breaches that are taking place, and it is up by 125%. And a new zero-day exploit was found every day on average last year. Now, a zero-day exploit is something, in my knowledge, is where it's a weakness in a product, in a software, or in an operating system before the vendor releases the patch to protect that weakness, to protect that vulnerability. And that's something that hackers use to exploit that weakness. So how can DCS help you protect from those weakness, from those zero-day attacks? Now, before I move on to the next slide discussing about what really DCS does, you probably have a question in your mind that why not have a traditional endpoint antivirus system? So the answer is yes, you can go ahead and have an antivirus, but then DCS really comes before any antiviruses, right? Because DCS are, remember, they are purpose built for mission critical servers. So unlike any antivirus that are optimized or designed to be installed or to be used on endpoint systems, Symantec DCS is more driven or more built towards those data center workloads, such as your domain controller or maybe your SQL database. There is a difference between a server and a client, like I said earlier. Plus, DCS, what it does, unlike antiviruses, DCS provides you with a proactive approach. Antiviruses are traditionally reactive. So what I mean by that is antiviruses rely more on signatures and they often miss those zero-day threats. And because DCS has a proactive approach of preventing those attacks, it uses that policy-based prevention, what we call it sandboxing or application control, those IPS policies or IDS policies, and I'll explain that in a bit, to block those threats even before that threat could even think of entering the system. And antiviruses, they usually use those signature-based hash values in order for it to get updated. DCS does not really rely on those signatures. Moreover, antiviruses do not protect the server workloads, such as those servers that are end of life or out of support. And DCS, exactly one of the USPs of DCS is supporting those end of life systems. So what really is DCS? So as you can see on the screen over here, what DCS really does is it helps you continuously monitor and protect your server workloads. So DCS is basically, the way DCS works is it reduces the attack surface, right? It contains a list of, it contains, it's a collection of IPS and IDS policies. And those policies control and monitor what programs and users can do to a specific application or to an operating system. So it contains that out of the box prevention policies, like we call it the IPS policies, intrusion prevention system policies, and detection policies that can help you understand and help you block your the incoming threats through network, through file access, or through any other medium. So in simple terms, what app controller and isolation does is it helps you isolate a particular application. So we have these hardened policies which we provide out of the box, in which all the applications on an operating system continue to be blocked unless specifically whitelisted. So, and by the way, just to let you know, we have been solving these server-related issues for the past 2 decades now. Our main USP is to protect the operating system, including legacy operating system. So we basically allow the system to still run and function normally, but at the same time protect it against all types of attack by hardening the OS layer. So we are keeping the good configuration intact regardless of who is accessing the system. So we give you this system hardening mechanisms. We are enforcing security policies and prevent anyone from tampering those system critical files. We are also ensuring that we are controlling the connectivity down to the application and user, right? With our application firewall, which is through our network controls. And then we also provide you with anti-malware controls. Now, anti-malware, I'll cover this in one of the upcoming slides. Anti-malware is something that we support in DCS for the Linux-based workloads, so such as your RHEL or your Ubuntu workloads. So we do support malware analysis or on-demand scanning through our anti-malware controls. And we also support auto protect. So auto protect is something, and that's something that I'll explain in the next slide. But then in a nutshell, we do provide anti-malware controls as well, and then change detection. So we give you this default policy. So we have Windows policies as well as Unix policies, which help you monitor those real-time alerts, real-time changes to a system. Those changes could be anything related to changes to a file, unauthorized configuration changes, network level changes, registry level changes, any changes to a file, maybe to a folder if someone tries to create a folder, or someone tries to delete something, someone tries to modify something. So those kind of alerts and notifications are sent back to the administrator. So what DCS, as you can see on the screen, we give you protection across different types of platforms, right? So we give you protection for your Microsoft workloads, on Oracle or cloud platforms such as AWS or OpenStack, and containers as well as virtualization. So if you have workloads running on VMware or Hyper-V, go ahead and you can install that DCS in. So in the protection is based on the agent, by the way. So there is an agent that gets installed on those workloads. So let's say you have a Windows machine, and that Windows machine, you will install a DCS agent, and it is a lightweight agent that gets installed. Once that agent is installed, go ahead and you are by default protected through that agent based on what policies you are applying to that agent. And our agents can coexist with any antivirus agents as well. So there will be no performance issues or any conflicts between these two agents, because this is a very common question that I get, especially on those platforms such as the one that you can see, VMware, Hyper-V, or even Microsoft. Can your DCS agents on Windows platforms coexist with my antivirus? So the answer is yes, we can. There are no issues. You can whitelist certain path, and you can have both those agents running or more than two agents running on your operating system without any conflicts or without any performance issues. So what DCS agent does, what DCS helps you reduce that last minute downtime patching, that emergency patching, and it minimizes that patch related downtime. It reduces that incident and remediation cost with continuous monitoring and continuous security. And once the agent has that IPS policy, right, that prevention policy, it will enforce that policy even when that computer or when that laptop is disconnected from the corporate network. So even if that laptop is disconnected, the enforcement still applies. The agent will continue to block and will not allow anyone to make any system level changes or any sort of changes on the operating system. So it is effectively blocking those zero-day exploits as well. Now, zero-day exploits, like I said, without the vendor releasing any patches. In the DCS world, we try to call it as virtual patching. So your system's already patched in a way, but without those patches being released by the vendors. Let's talk a little bit about Docker containers. So with DCS 6.10, we do protect the entire Docker deployment. So as you can see over here, we give you complete visibility on your Docker lifecycle. And if you can see over here, we support the host operating system. So again, one of the common questions on the Docker protection is, does the agent get installed on those individual containers? So the answer is no. We do not install any agents on the Docker level. I mean, on the container level. The agent is basically installed on the host level. So we leverage the host-based protection to monitor and control the containers that are running on that host. And we support Ubuntu, Red Hat, and CentOS that are running these containers. So the agent effectively controls and monitors the container behavior by observing or the underlying host OS. Right. So some of the behaviors that we control, that we monitor, are system calls or file system access, any configuration access, network connections made by the containers, so on and so forth. Right. So we give you this runtime protection in real time. So we will detect and block any unauthorized process, such as any privilege escalation or any anomalous behavior that could signal an attack. Again, this gets installed at the kernel level, right? When we are installing an agent on the host, DCS policy, so we have a Docker host policy. We have a Docker specific policy, which is for our Unix workloads. So that policy, when it will enforce that policy directly at the kernel level, ensuring that the container is isolated, we are preventing any unauthorized system call, and we are stopping those container breakouts. Right? At the same time, we are also giving you file integrity monitoring. So with this, we are continuously tracking those changes to those system critical files or to those configuration files within the Docker environment. Let's go on to the next slide. Right. So sorry, let me go back. On the compliance side of things, we can apply those Unix real-time security policies on the Docker host, right? And the host as well as the container, right? So both the host and the container are monitored, and this includes real-time monitoring of the Docker host as well as the container. So effectively, if you look at it, we are helping you, we are ensuring that your security teams can ensure files and services specified in that CIS Docker benchmarks are being monitored. We will help you monitor all the containers that are downloaded and deployed from the Docker Hub. So we are effectively giving you, if you look at this, we are monitoring those containers download from the Docker Hub. So if you see, we are providing you with an audit trail as well. And we help you track those users that gets created on the Docker host, right? Enabling the ability to enforce those user right compliance as well. On the hardening side, again, this is an agent-less security. So like I said, we are effectively not installing anything on the containers. we are installing the agent on the host level, right? So this is an agentless security to each container by providing that isolation of the containers from each other, from the Docker host. So what this indirectly does is that this prevents any sort of exploits that may result in a container escape or a container breakout, right? And all of this is done without impacting the Docker performance, without impacting the Docker host. Lastly, on the management side, it is an easy integration that we provide via our RESTful APIs. And this is something that's securely built into the container during provisioning. So the entire Docker container lifecycle management is something that you can monitor with our DCS 6.10 agent. I'll move on to the platform support, but Kalman, I think we discussed. Let's take a pause for a minute. I'm not sure if there are questions. Maybe I can take one or two. If I'm not able to answer them, maybe we can take them after the session. So if there are questions, can you let me know?
No question came to this, so feel free to
All right.
continue the presentation.
All right, no worries. So I think this is one of the most interesting parts of DCS is that we support all the key operating systems. Now, when I said, we do support those legacy operating systems, as you can see over here, we still support those end of life, end of service operating systems such as 2003 and Windows 2008. And if you see, we still support XP. When I say the thing over here is the support means that we still support XP. We are still going to protect your operating system. However, there will be some sort of limitations over here. However, the protection is still intact. The protection is still there. And this is spread across not just Windows, but also the Linux-based operating systems such as CentOS, I think 5, 6, and 7, I think Red Hat 5 as well. So we give you a legacy pack. When you purchase the DCS subscription, you also get access to the legacy packs. And those legacy packs contain those legacy binaries that you can install on those legacy operating systems to get them protected. Now, this is the new platform support. Now, if you notice over here at the bottom, this is still a little outdated. We are supporting more than 137 plus. I think this number has gone up. And if you notice, this is the range and the breadth of operating systems that we support. These are I've just listed a few, but if you see over here, on average, our engineering team certifies a new kernel module every 2 weeks. And of course, in some cases, certain Linux modules may take longer. And I've included a link over here. And I think in the end, I'll also walk you through this link, and you can just take a look as to the level of support, the amount of kernels that we support across the Linux flavored operating systems. So and of course, if you see over here on RHEL or Ubuntu, we are supporting not only the intrusion prevention system policies, I mean, the prevention as well as detection, we are also supporting the anti-malware on those operating systems as well. Okay, let's discuss the single agent for Linux. So the single agent for Linux, this only applies to Linux, okay? So remember I told you that we also give you the anti-malware support for Linux. So technically speaking, the DCS Linux agent is essentially our endpoint protection agent. So it is the same agent, right? So you don't need to, if you have a SEPM, which you're already using, there's no need to install a separate DCS agent. So the single agent for Linux, it eliminates the need to perform 2 separate agent installations or upgrades or manage those workflows. So that single agent will do the job of DCS as well as the antivirus. So DCS handles the IPS and the IDS, whereas the Symantec Endpoint Protection Manager, it manages the features including anti-malware or live update. So we call this as a dual managed agent, basically. So it is effectively a single agent that not only communicates with your Symantec Endpoint Protection Manager, but it also communicates with our DCS manager as well. And there's this, if you see, this is only supported on this version and above. So you have to be on 14.3 release update 4 and DCS 6.9.2 or later. If you have these agents, then you can have those agents dual managed. Lastly, I would like to walk you through some of the success stories and use cases. Now, if you see, this was one of the world's largest banking and financial services provider. If you see the current footprint that they've been having, they have around 7,000 licenses currently on DCS to protect their Swift servers. And this number is only going to go up to 150 endpoints momentarily, I think, in the next phase. So this is one of the testaments that DCS does the job effectively. Another successful use case is with a large government agency. Their current footprint is 40,000 licenses across different operating systems, Windows, Linux, AIX, Solaris, and they are supporting and they are protecting their database servers, domain controllers, web servers, and so on and so forth. So they are utilizing DCS for anti-malware, IDS, as well as IPS. Sorry, let's go back. I think there's one more, another large multinational banking and financial services company. They have a combination like 50% Windows, 50% Linux, and they're using DCS to monitor their system users for basically for file integrity monitoring and to support those exotic operating systems, those end-of-life systems, as AIX or Solaris. So exotic is rare operating systems such as AIX, Solaris. You wouldn't see or probably rarely see any of the antiviruses supporting these operating systems. This is again how Symantec can stop those attacks on IIS or Microsoft Exchange. So if you see, any Microsoft Exchange server, any unpatched Microsoft Exchange server is still protected against these CVEs through our policy controls. So we are giving you out of the box policies specifically for specific workloads. So we have policies for SQL, we have policies for Exchange, we have policies specifically for IIS as well. So you can have them protected even though your Exchange servers are still unpatched. Any questions? I'm at the end of the slide and I can move on to the demonstration just to show you the look and feel of the product and maybe demonstrate a few use cases.
Yes, two questions came. The first question is, what happened to support Windows XP, Windows 7, Windows 8, and Windows Server 2003, 2012 R2?
Yeah, so those server operating systems are still supported. So starting with 2003, yes, we are still supporting Windows 2003, and we do have an executable that an agent for that specific operating system. Then I think the second was 2008, 2012. So yes, we are supporting Server 2008 as well as Server 2012 as well. So all these servers are still supported. We have an agent for Windows XP as well. So that's also supported with our Symantec DCS.
And the second question is about the supported operating systems, macOS. Do you support macOS? This is the question.
No, we don't support macOS. For that, we have another product within our portfolio, which is through Carbon Black. But Symantec DCS does not support macOS. I think that's something in the roadmap, but I cannot give a date as such.
Okay, no other question came. So if you think, feel free to continue the presentation.
Okay, fair enough. So I can just jump right onto the server over here. Let me just log in. All right, so let's sign out and sign back in. So this is the console, and let's quickly log in. Right. Now, if you see, The previous version of Symantec DCS was version 6.9.3, right? Previously, we had two separate consoles. I mean, for those who don't know, we previously had two separate consoles. So one was a web console, and then one was a thick base, Java-based console, the one that you see. What we've done recently in the new release, which is the 6.10 version, the one that you see, we have consolidated those two consoles into one. So now everything is done through the same console. So you can do your policy changes, the application of those policies. So when you are making those changes and when you're applying those policies and when you're viewing those events, those violations, everything takes place from the same unified console. So this is one of the latest innovations, I would say, that we have brought in Symantec DCS. So we have consolidated these two consoles and gave it a more modern UI, if I may say. Now, if you see, we are supporting RHEL as well as Windows as well. And I think quickly I can jump onto this. Remember, I told you that we are supporting every 2 weeks, the engineering team brings in support for new kernels, right? Now, if you see, this is our web page, a public facing web page. If you see, we are bringing in support every few weeks. So July 2nd, we brought in an update for a new Linux kernel. July 1st, there was an update. 25th again, there was 24th, 20th. I've already opened. If you see over here, list of kernels that are supported, can just quickly come over here. If you see, these are the level of the number of kernels that we support across a host of operating systems. So we are supporting Amazon Linux, we are supporting RHEL or Rock Linux 9, Oracle 9, we are supporting the ARM architecture as well, ARM64 on RHEL 9, as well as I think we're supporting on RHEL 8 as well. Oracle Linux 7, if you see the list of kernels that we support, and we are supporting not just IPS and FIM, but we are also supporting Auto Protect. And that's a feature of the anti-malware. And of course, we are supporting Ubuntu 16 all the way to 24 LTS. And if you see over here, all of that is basically supported, across the
Sorry,
6.10 version.
Ajit,
Yeah.
meanwhile, not a question came. Can you please zoom in into the screen?
Yeah, is this better? I've zoomed in, I think, almost 110, 125%. I hope this resolution is okay.
On my side is
Right.
absolutely fine. Let's see the feedback. Yes, better. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Since the gentleman was not able to see the screen, I'll walk through this this page again very quickly. So these are some of the kernels we support, right from Amazon Linux to RHEL 9, Oracle Linux. Alma Linux is something I remember we introduced lately, very recently, I mean. And then Oracle Linux, SLES, Ubuntu, AIX, Solaris 11.4. So these are the range and the breadth of operating systems that we support in Symantec DCS. Of course, you don't see those legacy OS, and that's because we maintain a different platform and feature matrix sheet. And in that sheet, we have mentioned the support we provide across those legacy OS as well. Let's go back to the console. So this is the console, right? So I have applied. So this is my RHEL machine, and I told you, right, on the RHEL machines on Ubuntu as well as Red Hat, we are supporting not just IPS and IDS, but we are also supporting the anti-malware feature. Now, this Red Hat machine, this is an RHEL 8 version. It already has a Unix protection policy, and it has the detection policy as well. Now, if I go over to my RHEL box, I can just quickly log in, and I'll show you exactly what that anti-malware feature is. Right, so let me show you some of the events that are taking place on that RHEL box. So let's run a query. So if you see, let's cancel this out. Let's run a query. So these are all the process assignments that are, all the events that are basically getting logged. So if you see, we are having these file access events on Windows 10 on RHEL. If you want, you can just filter this as per the operating system. So if you just want to see those file level access on RHAL, you can see them as well. You see this is a file write denied on this particular place because we have a prevention policy in place. Now, if I have to just quickly run, so we are on the TMP drive. So I can quickly run a wget command. So wget is basically a command to download anything on a Linux box. So let's try to do an ICAR test, right? So an ICAR test is a fake malware test to see if the system is capable to detect that ICAR file, right? So let me quickly run this and show if the agent is able to intercept, if that agent is able to detect that malicious file. So let's try and do that. So I think the URL is fine, I believe, secure.icar.org. And if I do this, so it's not running right now. So it is connected. So it tried creating the icar.com.txt.9. If I try and run this, you will not see this file over here. And that the last file you see is .8. But the system should have created .9, but the .9 is missing. The reason why it's missing, remember I told you that we provide you with anti-malware feature. So the .9 file has moved into a quarantine folder. So on the Linux box, on Linux machines, we are basically protecting and preventing those threats from entering. So we are immediately quarantining that threat into the quarantine folder. And the responding event is onto the is sent back to the agent. If you see, we have got an anti-malware critical alert. So let's go back. So if you see, this is an anti-malware alert saying that an ICAR test was performed, a threat was detected. And if you try to take a look as to what this was, so this is the details over here, critical. And this is the auto protect. So auto protect is where a system or a file tries to launch itself or tries to execute itself. That's when the auto protect feature kicks in. And if it detects a threat, it will immediately quarantine that threat. And it was able to successfully quarantine the threat. So this is something on the Linux server as well. Now, on the Windows side of things, if I come over to Windows, so this is my Windows machine. It's currently running, let's go back to the assets. So it is currently running an app control policy. So this is basically the most restrictive policy in the DCS environment, right? So if you see, we have all these policies over here, and I can filter this down to as per the operating system. Now, this is the policy I have. And if you take a look over here, this is the app control policy. Now, in this policy, if I go over to the protection strategy, this is a policy which is denying everything by default. So DCS, basically the way this works is we follow the default deny security posture, which means that everything is denied unless you specifically whitelist an application. And this is exactly what is happening on my Windows 10 machine. Now, if I were to open MS Edge, this has been successfully blocked. Why? Because I'm not able to launch anything because there is an IPS policy in place. The IPS policy is also restricting me to launch Copilot as well, because this has been blocked by the IPS again. If I try to, one of the common ways of infiltrating something is when you try and when the hacker gets access to those system critical files, especially the system32 folder. And if I try to delete any DLLs, if I try to do that, it won't allow me to do it because that's something that is protected by my DCS. So like I said, DCS is still going to let the operating system function, but it is still at the same time, we are keeping the good configuration intact. So regardless of who logs in, if it's an administrator or a normal user, we are not letting anyone make any changes to those files. So I'm trying to delete a system critical file. It's not going to allow me to do that. Similarly, let's go to the temp folder. If I try to delete, if I try to open this file, a notepad, it's not allowing me to open the notepad file as well. Let's go here and let's try to take an RDP session onto my machine. So this is, I'm trying to connect, imagine this, or you can try to picture this. Someone tries to take an RDP session to a server. So this could be a server, but if you see this is, it's trying to initiate a remote session, but it's not able to do it. So this IP address is my Windows 10 IP. And I can quickly show you. So 168.1.21 is the IP that I'm trying to take remote, but it's not allowing me to do it because at this moment there's an IPS policy in place. And if I show you exactly how, so if you see over here, now this brings me to another point, right? Now, if you see, this is the sys IPS override tool. Now, what this tool does is, let's say there is a legitimate reason for someone to make changes. Now, those trusted users can be exempted from a DCS policy. So if you have a group of Active Directory users or individual users whom you trust, or if you would like to have give them the flexibility to override prevention, that's something that's possible using the prevention override tool. Now, the prevention override tool, as you can see, gives administrators the ability to allow certain users or a group of users to override prevention temporarily. And so this is right from 15 minutes all the way to 12 hours. So if I am right now trying to override something, I can use this, I can fill in the captcha. I hope the captcha is right. I think this is W. Let's see. Yeah. I can disable this for 15 minutes because that's the time I chose. Now, once this is disabled, I'll get a notification that, yes, this has been disabled. Prevention is now disabled. You get a notification as well on the bottom right. And now if I try to open MS Edge, this will work successfully, right? If I try to open maybe Copilot, this will open successfully, right? If I try to open something else, this is going to open successfully because right now it is allowing me to do it. Why? Because the IPS has been turned off. Similarly, now if I try to take an RDP, if you see, immediately I've been presented with a screen to enter my password. So let's try to enter this password and see if I can take that RDP. I think I am. There you go. I've been successfully able to do an RDP session because the prevention is right now disabled. And then you get a timer window as well. So let's go here again. Let's sign in. It kicked me out because I took an RDP. And one of the good things about this is as an administrator, you don't have to worry about re-enabling the IPS again because the IPS will automatically re-enable itself after 30 minutes and some seconds, right? So this is an automatic process, right? If I re-enable the IPS policy, if I try to run something like an executable, it will still allow me to do it. So see, command prompt, if you see, I'm able to open command prompt. Command prompt is okay. I can open command prompt. I can open PowerShell. I cannot execute any program or any EXEs or any batch files through command prompt or maybe through PowerShell because that's something that's not allowed through the policy, so through that policy. Now, if I try to open MS Edge again, this is again blocked. Copilot again, it's gone. It's not allowing me to do it. If I go to the temp folder, try to open this again, it's still not, because the IPS has been enabled, it's not allowing me to do it. If I go over to the download section, let's try to do downloads. And I think I did download the VLC player. Now this is an EXE. If I try to run this, if you see this, the access is denied. Because it is denied, it's because of the policies. And I have another EXE, which is a wildfire, some sort of an EXE. If I try to do it again, so imagine this: a perpetrator gets access to your system. It could be a domain controller, and they try to maybe get password out of your system. They won't be able to do it because none of the executables are allowed. Because even though you have access to CMD or PowerShell, you can't execute a thing because everything is essentially locked down through our DCS policies. I think that's about it. Everything you basically get all of that, all the corresponding events are logged. I think there was one more thing that I want to show you is file changes, right? So we have some detection policies. Let's go back here and let's filter this down to only detection. So let's see Windows and then policy type. I want to look at only the detection policies. Now, if I click on edit, right, so these are the detection policies I have. So this is a Windows baseline. I have applied a custom rule as well. You can apply those custom detection policies where you're trying to monitor those file level changes. Remember, I told you about those that we have out of the box detection policies as well. And detection policies is where you can monitor those registry level changes, those file level changes, folder level changes. So we will monitor those creation, deletion, modification. Any changes using checksum can be checked, can be notified to the administrator. So right now I'm monitoring the file creation. What is the file that I'm looking at? I'm looking at this custom detection where I'm monitoring the file changes. So I'm looking at the C temp folder. So if I try to do something here, if I go back to the directory and temp, and if I try to do, let's say, sorry, so I created this, right? So this system event will be logged back to the DCS console saying that this file was created. If I try to delete it, I think it won't allow me to do it. Yeah. If I try to open it, no, it won't allow me to open it either because there's an IPS policy in place. So if you see, let's go back to the edit. Yeah. So we have the system user and group change monitor as well. So this can be applied to your domain controller as well, right? So we have this admin change password failed. If you would like to have a notification, go ahead, you can do that. You can get yourself notified for any account changes, creation, deletion, enabling something, user removal from a local group, user added to a user group, so on and so forth. If you see, we have a bunch of rules, and these are all predefined. If you want something out of the box, you can use those predefined rules. If you want to create those custom ones, you can create those custom rules as well. And this is applicable both on Unix as well as your Windows policies as well. So if I just filter down to Unix, and it's this one, so detection, and then maybe Unix. So see, this is a Docker host policy that I have. This policy is monitoring all the Docker host malicious activity. So if I click on the edit, go on to the global settings over here, so you can customize your own Docker settings here. So this is a detection policy, not a prevention policy. You want like to monitor the changes to the Docker configurations, monitor the additions, the instance deletions, the creations, everything can be done here. So this is on the Docker side of things. Similarly, we have a Unix baseline protection policy as well. Again, it is monitoring those file level and directory level changes, those global file watch settings. Core system files, again, if you see, these are all Symantec default core system files. Now, if you see, we are looking at changes on the bin folder. We all know that these are, these critical files, those files such as files inside those system32 folders or win-s folder on the Windows machine. Similarly, on the USR folder. So all these folders are by default added. If you want to add more, click on add more. If you want to, let's say, monitor the TMP folder, just create the TMP folder and the TMP is there, right? And you can click on save and you can reapply that policy. And then once this policy is reapplied, you will see this from going from online to an update pending status. So an update pending status is where the agent is expecting a policy push. And once that policy is successfully applied, you will see this go back online. If there are any connectivity issues, you would see this offline, or you would see this as critical and then offline in red. And again, we have security groups. These security groups contain those policies in place. I think there was one more thing that I want to check. You can run an inbuilt. Let me see. Let me quickly just show you. So if I go over here, Yeah, I think there was one more thing I remember. So let's go to the policy section again very quickly, and let's X this out, Windows, and then we have our Windows app control policy. We have something called as app control whitelisting, right? So if you remember, this policy is by default denying everything unless you are specifically whitelisting any application. So if you go over to the application rules, now if you see here, Google Chrome is being routed to the fully open sandbox, which means that I want Google Chrome to launch successfully. So if I go here and if I try to run Google Chrome, if you see this, it's already open, right? But if I try to run MS Edge, it's not. And we want to more application. We have something called as a pre application. So we run a self-discovery. The agent runs a discovery to check what sort of applications are installed on the machine, and it will give you a list of the applications that are already present on the machine. So if I want to, as an example, if I want to exclude or allow Internet Explorer or Microsoft Edge to be routed to the fully open sandbox, so that's something that can be done using the application rules. So I can use MS Edge, I can click on add, and now I can move this to a fully open sandbox, or again, this one. And then I can click on save. I can add more if I like. I can do that as well. Next time the policy gets reapplied successfully, I will be able to launch the MS Edge application as well without any issues. So I think in summary, as you can see, DCS really is a great solution when it comes to protecting your server, your mission critical servers, all the way from your latest servers, both RH, Unix or as well as Windows, as well as your legacy operating systems. If there are any further questions, I think, Kalman, I think we can make a note of all those questions, and I'll be sure to answer all of them by email. And I think that's my time.
We have
Kalman,
time.
I'll leave them.
Ajit,
Yep.
absolutely, we have time, so we can talk about the questions. First, the feedback from
Yeah.
Summer that looks similar to the old ATP from Symantec. Yes, you are right. So basically, the company continuously refresh the UI, because if you worked with the old version of the DCS, you remember that it was an application, not a web-based console. So this is the goal, that the company refresh the management console and use the same design and the same solution. As you see, this console is absolutely similar with the ICDF, for example, the cloud console of the endpoint protection system. Now let's see the questions. How does Symantec DCS integrate with existing IAM solutions, and also how does it scale to demand?
Integrate with what? Sorry, IAM solutions, IMS
Yes.
solutions.
Identity and access management solution.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but then when it comes to authentication as such, we are bringing in support. So right now we are using this built-in administration account. We are bringing in support for multi-factor authentication as well with Okta, and that's in the roadmap. And I don't have a specific date as to when that will be released, but we are bringing in like brand new features in the upcoming releases. But I don't have any timelines as such or any updates on the IMS integration. But I can
Okay.
check and I can get back for sure.
Okay. The next question is antimalware on the Linux environment installed and enabled by default?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So basically, what happens is when you install, okay. So when you install, so let's say you are in an air-gapped environment, so there's no connectivity, nothing at all, right? And what we do is when we ship the DCS agent, the Linux agent, we also ship something called as the fallback definitions. Those fallback definitions are basically those updates for the anti-malwares. And that's basically used when you are installing the DCS agent. So when you install the DCS agent, you do get a lot of options either to enable or to disable that anti-malware feature. So by default, it is turned on because I remember installing it. But again, you have the complete flexibility to either turn it off or turn it on. And even if it's turned off, you can still later turn it on. So that's no problem.
Okay. The next is a tricky question. Does it also have the anti-malware feature on the AIX environment?
AIX, no, I don't think so. With AIX, right now we support Red Hat, Ubuntu, and I think Solaris, or I think SLES, I guess. But okay, Kalman, so are we jotting down these questions? Are we writing down these questions? Because I don't think AIX, there is support for anti-malware, but we only support IPS and IDS. But for AIX, there could be, but we don't know. I have to check the platform matrix sheet and then get back to the gentleman who asked this question.
Sure. I can send you the questions by email, so no problem.
I'll be sure to respond by one.
Yes. Okay. If you have any additional question, feel free to share through the chat window. But we need to close the webinar session within 1 minute.
Okay.
And meanwhile, the colleagues are sending the question. Ajit, thank you very much for your presentation. Thanks for the attention on the audience side. I hope the delivered content was useful. Robert, thank you very much for answering to the question. Meanwhile, I put you to the panelist just to give a proof that not an unknown person is answering. Robert belongs to MBCom. And as I see no additional question came, so thank you again. We will release the recorded session soon. If you subscribe to the webinar channel, then you will see the uploaded content because automatically you will be notified. If you are not liking the YouTube channel, then you will receive the email within 2 weeks and you can open the link from that email. Thanks again. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thanks everyone for your time. Have a nice day.
Thanks, Ajit. Thanks, Kalman. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.